Hey world, I'm getting over a cold, so I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to make this dress. This one right here. It's got a Peter Pan collar, princess seams that start from the mid neck, and a little bit of gathering up here at the top neck. So let's get started. So I'm starting with a torso block that's got one dart in front, one dart in back, and then it's got a bust dart here. And then we got the shoulder dart, which I think this will just be used as a guideline to figure out where we're cutting apart our seam lines. So before I do any of that though, I'm going to grab the back pattern and I'm going to copy it so that I can use it as a guideline to draft our collar pattern. So I'm going to match the neckline and rotate. I want to come in here, I'm going to draw a box that is 1.5 centimeters by 1.5 centimeters. And at this point, I'm going to rotate this box to match, and then continue rotating the back pattern until it's overlapped by just about that much. That seems like a lot, but that way your collar pattern isn't going to flare out too much over the shoulder. All right, now that we've done that, I need another box that is 2 inches, so 2 by 2, and that's going to be the length of our collar. And I'm going to put this there at the center back, and that is now our guideline. I'm going to draw a line, giving it a curve, and then I'm going to come down here for the under part. Okay, this is just a guideline. All right, I'm going to need another box that's 2 by 2. But then I want to go down a little bit from that, so I'm going to change the height of this actually to 2.5. And by doing this, it'll roll better when it is completed. Yes, so I want this line to go to here. Nope, don't move it. Use your A tool and reshape. There we go, close enough. And see how this is a nice curve, but this is gross. So I'm going to do Shift C and bring this out. Although I didn't like how it changed my line here, so I guess we'll just do Shift C on this piece. Try to get a better shape there. Okay, I don't know why it doesn't want to snap. I want to snap this point to my box. There we go. All right. Something's still really wonky about this shape here, so I'm going to make this handle shorter and use this handle to continue my curve. I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm going to scoot this over. That's a little nicer. Okay, so now I'm going to make this back into a 2-inch square, 2 inch by 2 inch, and drop this down so that it matches that line again. And so this collar would be odd because it would go straight to the very center. It would be very strange looking. So for what I'm going to do is draft it from the neck corner and then out to the side. Again, so that it rolls, this is my new neck corner. So my guideline will go here, no, here-ish. And we want it to have a curve like that, and then it'll continue along the line that we've already drawn. And now I'm going to cut pieces away so we can see what's going on. I'm going to add an anchor point here. I'm going to subtract that line. I'm going to get rid of my guide box, get rid of this guide box. Oop, not the whole thing. There we go. And that's pretty ugly, but I can reshape. I'm going to join these two. I want this to be further away. So I'll move it sort of like this. A lot of this is trial and error too, to figure out what you like as far as the collar pattern goes. The spread of this is pretty nice, so I think I'm going to leave it. I don't really like that it's a corner, so I'm going to try to smooth it out. Ooh, that was, nope. It's probably because I've got two anchor points on top of each other. So I'm going to subtract that one, which is going to change the shape drastically, and I don't like that, but I'm going to ignore that for a second. Make this rounder. That's nice. Yeah, I don't really mind that. I think that'll be fine. It looks a little strange, and I think it has something to do with this not being too much of a curve, but let's just curve that a little bit. I'm actually going to get rid of that line entirely, and we are going to change our shape with just 2 points, and all I have to do, make sure that that's perpendicular to the back. Oh, see, that curve is so much nicer. Okay. All right, now I'm going to erase parts of this back pattern piece that's up here. So I'm going to add an anchor point there. And get rid of that. Get rid of that. I don't need that. This point floating in space I don't need. This can all go away. All right. And now, instead of just cutting away the front pattern piece, just to, ooh, oh, that's because it's all connected. Ha, we'll come back to that. I am going to use my A tool, highlight all of this, do Control-C, Control-V, and that gives us parts that I can cut apart, which is nice. Okay, this shoulder line does not need to be there. You don't want to put a shoulder seam in your collar. That would be strange. The only thing I'm going to do from here is take this corner and move it down to that corner. That way it'll roll nicer when it's done. I'm going to join these. I'm going to join those. And then, since it still has the center front line, I'm going to try to delete it. Yep, it worked. Everything using my A tool. Fabulous. Now we have half collar pattern. A little tough to see in this pattern, but it might work. I'd have to try it to mock it up to see if it looks like I want it to look, but for all intents and purposes, it's pretty close. That's how you would do it for any Peter Pan collar, any collar that doesn't have a stand and then a roll. You can just line up your pattern pieces and then draw your collar over it and then cut it apart. Okay, moving on. Now the actual dress parts. So this one starts mid-neck. I'm going to add an anchor point. I don't know. There. Sounds good. And then I'm going to cut it. And I'm going to cut the anchor points at my dart legs as well, or my dart points, doy. And then down here, I threw an extra point. There we go. All right. This is our center front. Ooh, apparently not. Oh, Control-Shift-G. Ungroup it. Grab this. Grab that. Whoa. and I'm going to hold shift and just bounce it that way. Perf. Oh, I hit caps lock. Sometimes if you hit caps lock, it turns your pen tool into an X. Not sure why. I like the pen better. Alright. Oh, why did you... Why? I think this has to do with everything being grouped, which is super annoying, so Control A. Control Shift G like 1,000 times just in case. Alright, let's try that again. Pen tool. Gets my minus, which is good. Give me the circle. Aha, or the square, it's a square. Minus and circle. Perfect. And now, this is my pattern here. But I want to get rid of this side dart because it's not in our illustration here. What I'm going to do is move this guy back, and this way we can find our bust point. Nope, give me that. All right. Bust point is cross mark here. I'm going to snip apart, unless they're already snipped. I think they are. And I'm going to snip this part as well, even though I just drew it. Bear with me. I'm going to scoot this up to here. I'm going to scoot this, nope, over to there. There we go. And so this guy can go out of the way again so I don't get this confused. I'm going to move this as well up to there. And now I can use my rotate and close this dart. Or not, because it doesn't like me. Hit the V. Do it again. There we go. Okay, some weirdness happened here, but I'm just going to delete it. I think. Don't delete the guide. Guide's important. I don't know why this pattern, these lines don't like to match, but I'm just going to scoot it, join them, and then delete them, just so that we get a straighter line there. Not going to affect the fit too much, so don't worry about it. Now I'm looking at these up close. I don't know how that got super weird. Wild. I think I must have moved one of them. Either way. Okay. Excuse me. Whoa. Alright, so this I'm going to scoot back. All I want to do is make sure that my bust line, or my bust point, I guess, is not going to be pointy again, like I always like to do. So I'm going to just scoot this down so that it matches. Because this is where our dart ended originally. Again, it keeps getting confused, so bye-bye, move that over. Get this there. This, that's the guide. Nope. This here. That's pretty good. All right. Get my guidelines out of the way because they keep confusing things. Select all the anchor points that are here, and then can I give them a curve? I can. And I don't mind it. It's just not a very good curve, I think. I don't want this to bow out, or else you're going to get sort of a bubble. So I'm going to just make this handle go back a little bit. And I'm going to do the same here, which sort of defeats the purpose of what I just did with that curve, but that's fine. This is super pointy as well. And of course, giving it a curve doesn't do a whole lot. because they're on top of each other. I'm going to delete this anchor. There we go. All right. Yeah. Well, that's kind of ugly. Let's just see what happens when we change these anchor points. You know, I honestly don't mind the ones going down from the bust point. If they're going straight down, that's fine. I think we can avoid the bubble here if we take the waistline anchors and go straight up. Do that again on this side. Does this one not? Oh, it does. It's up here. And this gives us some contour to the bust. I like that a whole lot. That looks nice. Okay. Before we add pleats or gathers up here and flare down here, let's start with the back pattern. Same idea. You can't see it on this, so I'm just going to guess that it's the same thing. I'm going to cut through my important anchor points, just like I did with the front, and separate them. Scoot that over and redraw. Continuing to redraw everything. Okay, so I hate this. These straight lines look like butt. Technical terms, you know. And so what I'm going to do is edit this line so that it curves more from there to there. So I'm going to do Shift-C, get my curve point tool, or my curve tool, and give me that. Do I like that? Yeah, actually, that's really nice. So we're just going to do again, Shift-C, and then on the back, center back piece, just to match. Let's scoot these apart and see what it looks like. I don't super love what's going on here. What happens if I just take that away? Oh, hey, that's even better. I also don't like that you can sort of see some awkwardness happening where these anchors were. You know what, I'm not going to worry about it. It's really small and hard to tell. Okay, so the back pattern, for all intents and purposes, is done. We're going to add a bunch of flare to it here in a minute. Let's go back to the front and figure out how to add some space along the neckline. It looks like a little bit on the side panel, but a lot in the front, so I'm just going to do a lot in the front to start. What I would like to do here, I'm going to separate this neckline into 3 pieces. One, by adding 2 anchors, 2. And I'm going to cut these apart, and I'm going to rotate around the bust point. So first cut here. And I need a guideline first. Let's do an inch. These are going to be really big, pronounced pleats, which is fine. An inch width gives you a 1/2 inch pleat, right? That sounds right. Okay, I need that corner to be, where's my anchor? Let's put a guideline there. Okay. Snip it. Did it snip? Oh, it might have snipped. Okay. And I'm going to do give me this one. Shift, give me that one. Hit R. Use that as my point. Haha, and it does work. So sometimes in my videos, I've been saying that you have to hit V before you rotate things, and usually you do. But in this case, these were separate anchor points, but the whole piece wasn't separated like that, so I wanted to make sure that I could just move these 2 anchor points. So I used A, selected both, and then rotated around there. Works really well. Same thing again, moving my guide to my anchor, which is there. I'm going to cut that anchor there, and then slide my box over to there. And now this, and actually, I need, nope. Okay, get rid of the guide because it's just so in the way. I want this anchor, and that anchor, and this anchor, and that anchor. And that way I can move the whole thing. I probably should have done the inner, this guy one first. That's okay. Now we're just going to rotate the whole thing until it matches that box. It's about an inch. It's probably a little bit less just because of the angle that's happening here, but that's okay. That's the idea anyway. So this shape stays the same. I am going to connect these like that. You just have to remember between where and where. These 1-inch sections are where you're going to pleat it or gather it, depending on what your preference is. And yeah, so this line is a little bit wonky looking, but I think once these are pleated closed, it's going to look a lot better. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to add one. Oops, add, not subtract. One. I'm going to cut it again. And then I need another box. Arguably the best way, the best guideline you can use is just a simple square. I thought about rotating that to make it match that neckline point, but I don't like that. So I want this, which is, right, because it's part of that shape. Okay, well, but I don't want those parts to move, so still going to use the A, direct select, grab those 2 points, hit R, rotating around this point, scoot this along that line-ish. Perfect. Delete my box, remove my guide, redraw this to that. So if I was doing this in paper, I would have to figure out the amount that I wanted my pleat to be and then do that completing the dart thing where you fold it over to figure out how much excess you need to give here so that it sits comfortably inside the seam allowances. But since I'm not doing that on here, we can figure that out later. Okay, pretty much all of this is done. However, now I want to add a bunch of flare. Look at how flared this is. It's huge. So we're going to draw a circle that is our waistline circumference. In this case, my waistline is 25 inches, and so to make a circle that's the correct shape for that, you do 7 by 7 or 7.95 by 7.95. So that's our waistline, and then I want to do that again, but add in 24 inches because that is the length of my skirt from waist to hem. Doing this not the super fastest way. Okay. Oh, except I lied. You have to double that because it's length from, this is only 24. It's fine. Don't worry about it. All right, moving on. We are going to match up my waistline anchors to this middle circle, which actually I'm going to throw some guidelines in just because this will help me see what's happening. Okay. And now, making this outer circle bigger to match here, Shift-Alt will make it grow from the center. Perfect. It looks huge. That's okay. I want that guideline out of there. And I'm going to rotate each waistline notch to match. This is my favorite way to make like perfectly circular skirt hems and whatnot, but like there's probably faster, better ways to do it. If you know of one, let me know. Always down to learn new things. I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but I like this way, and I've done it a couple times, and it works pretty well, actually. It's a nice way to make a nice, smooth, circular hem. Did I not grab? Oh, I did. Okay, good enough. All right, so it looks super confusing, but yes, this looks pretty good. Now I'm just going to split the difference between each notch here, which I could do with guidelines. I'm not going to. It gets confusing. Use my A tool and just swing these out. I don't need the hip points anymore because we're just going for flare from the waist, fit and flare. I'm even going to remove them before I start creating the flare. I want a little more from the front. Sometimes if you don't have a good balance of flare from each piece, your dress will hang funny. Either from the front or from the back, it'll pull one way or the other, and that just looks weird. So be aware. It doesn't have to be perfectly balanced, it just needs a little help sometimes. Like this one's going to be huge. This one's probably going to be, look, not the circle. The pattern piece, thank you. This one's also going to be kind of huge, but that's okay. Get rid of that, get rid of that. A lot of straight lines, but that's okay, those will also go away. I want the back to be most of this. Yeah. And then this can go to there. It's pretty good. You're not going to get a full circle sweep, which is fine. That way when you spin around, your dress doesn't go flat and people see what's underneath. I mean, if I were wearing a dress, that would be my preference. Up to you. I want to make sure these all match this circle I drew. Okay, Shift C. Editing your anchor or your curves to match the circle curve. Same thing over here. Same thing over here. And same thing over here. Brilliant. Oh, except for that didn't match there. So now it does. Cool beans. All right. Delete the big circle guideline, delete the little circle guideline, and now we have to rearrange our pattern pieces. I want a straight line back here to start with my center back piece. Don't double click things, I don't like doing that. Grabbing this anchor, throwing it there, and that, flip that around. Brilliant. Okay. Getting these all back to where they should be. This on the guideline, quickly. No. Sometimes I have to zoom way in to actually get it to snap to the guideline, which is silly. I have snap settings set in my Illustrator, but sometimes it just doesn't feel like snapping. It just doesn't listen to me, which is fine. We get around that different ways. All right. Here are our wonderfully flared patterns. We've got center front with 2 inches of either gather or pleat. side front with 1 inch of gather or pleat, side back and center back with lots of flare. And then we've got a little bit of a Peter Pan collar. Again, this is my favorite thing to do. Select all, object path, offset path, preview it just to make sure all of my patterns are complete. I'm going to I do 1/2 inch seam allowances, and boom, now we've got all of our patterns. So I'm going to join these, group, sorry. Group and join are 2 different commands. All right, there you go. Cute little 50s pattern with some gathers or pleats, some fun, I think these are fairly flattering princess lines too, so yeah. All right, well, I am going to go drink a bunch of water because my throat is sore, but if you enjoy this tutorial, hit that subscribe button. Let me know if you've got any questions or comments or anything, reach out to me. And I will see you all next week.